Hello and welcome to a series, a small series, a duology of videos in which I'll be looking back on the 20th anniversary of two films I hold very special and dear to my cold, near-dead heart. The first one being Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and my cat crying outside the door, which is just perfect, really. So you probably can't hear it, but I can, and it annoys me when I'm doing a video, but it is what it is. So Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is now 20 years old as a movie, which is crazy. The book itself is 24 years old, and this is my old battered, beaten up copy of the Ultimate Collector's Edition, which is a bit, wow, it's really dusty on the top there. Ooh, oh god, that's going to get to my chest. Yeah, I'll steer clear of that, but it's a gorgeous edition on the inside, and I've kept hold of it for a number of, I've had this for about 10 years actually. I think these came out maybe late 2011, and it was, yeah, I think it was earlier than that even, because the Ultimate editions of the new movies or the Deathly Hallows films hadn't quite come out, so I never ended up getting that far, and so this is just a gorgeous release. I have shown it in a video before, but it's nice to kind of look at some of these things, and I remember that the DVD set, when it first came out in 2002, was just stunning. It was one of my favorite DVDs ever, I think. It was like a really nice digipack here, and there's all sorts of paraphernalia inside, and you get all sorts of goodies on the inside as well. And this is just the Ultimate Edition. I mean, I have the Wizards collection, which is a whole other beast unto itself. There's so much. There really is so much in terms of Harry Potter physical releases, and I don't have the big Wizards collection with me here. I probably should, but I don't. But it's like easily probably the best box set I have. But well, that's the thing. I didn't even watch the film this year, so I watched it. I made sure I watched it in November 2021. You have to excuse me, I'm just getting over a sickness, and so my voice is a little hoarse, and I might have to cough at some point or another, but I didn't watch Harry Potter this year, and I again made sure to watch it in November, so that it was on the exact 20th anniversary, and I didn't use this edition for the Blu-ray, and I didn't use the Wizards Collection edition for the Blu-ray. So, what did I do? I downloaded it like a stinking dirty pirate because I wanted to watch it in 4K, and I'm going to get the films in 4K at some point, but not anytime soon. And there wasn't really an option to buy just the first film. It was the whole 8-film collection. So, and there'll be a similar theme in the next video, but I thought I'll just download a 4K copy from online, see how it looks on the TV, and it looked pretty good. It was nothing revelatory, you know. It was like a good like 25 gig file, but actually it marked an interesting first for me. It was actually the first time I saw the film in its American version, because of course when you're looking for stuff online, you're more often than not going to find the American version. So it was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and I was like, well, this would be interesting to watch, but I think they mention the full title of the stone like 4 times in the film. And to me, it was just funny that not Hermione Granger, bloody hell, this shows you how I'm still kind of a bit fuzzy from the sickness. It was funny how Emma Watson was kind of, her line deliveries were just exact, dead on. You know, Nicholas Flamel was the last known maker of the Philosopher's Stone, of the Sorcerer's Stone. Like you could almost, it's almost like they digitally just put sorcerers in there, but they did actually film it separately for the American version. For to what end, I don't know. Anyway, so Harry Potter, I wanted to talk about, as well as Lord of the Rings in the next video, just my thoughts on not the film itself, not to review Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, but just to talk about my feelings on it leading up to it when it was coming out, because it was a big deal when this film came out 20 years ago, and I still can't quite believe that it has been in fact 20 years. I'll put this up on the shelf here for no real good reason, but you'll be able to see it, and it'll be a nice visual accompaniment to the side of my fat head. So Oh, and my laptop seems to be playing up with the recording as well, which is just fantastic. Why would it not? Why would I not be able to just sit down and film a video without the audio fucking up and the laptop just balking itself into oblivion? It's like, oh, I see, Luke. I see. You haven't filmed a video in a month or two, and you want to use a microphone? Not a chance. No, the laptop will crash on you. Okay, so I guess we're doing this without the microphone audio. It's just a constant issue now. It's almost like a reason for me to not make videos, I think, because I don't have a way of recording audio anymore that doesn't make the laptop just shit itself. And, and I can see the waveform on the screen and it just doesn't keep up with itself. And even when there's nothing running on the laptop, it's at full 100% disk. Like it cannot keep up with, it's like I'm running 50 programs at once and trying to record audio. Yeah, it really sucks because it's hampering the very little amount of videos I am able to make. And you put aside time and set up lights and stuff. You think, okay, I'm gonna make that video. I don't have as much time as I used to, but I'm gonna carve out the time to make that video. And then your equipment's like, are you though? Are you really? Right, okay, so I'm just gonna carry on with this fucking thing. So Harry Potter, leading into it, like in fact, I might just, is it catching up with itself? I might just turn the audio off because it's bugging me. It's almost like it's trying to catch up with itself and get into real time again. And there we go. But I'm not sure if it's even coming through. See, sometimes it does. Sometimes the screen goes mental, but it actually still retains the audio. And I have no clue if it does. It's annoying. Anyway, I'll leave all that shit in because I quite frankly don't have the time to edit stuff out at the moment. Right. Harry Potter, Philosopher's Stone. I was a fan of the books a little bit late. I remember when people started talking about it in school and the name grabbed me, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And I always liked the idea of like stones and gems and emeralds and fantasy stories. So I was immediately drawn to that. And my best friend, Chris Marshall, I was living in England at the time, in Lark Hill, which is a small army garrison town, right next to Stonehenge. There's literally a stone's throw away from Stonehenge. You could walk down a small country path outside my house and be at Stonehenge in about 10 minutes. So I'd heard about it. My best friend, Chris Marshall, had got the book, and he lent it to me, and I fell in love with it. I remember the night I first started reading it, and I was sat on my bed. It was dark outside, and I was at the point where Hagrid turns up and tells Harry he's a wizard, and I was just in love with it. And then I remember looking at the back cover of Chamber of Secrets and hoping and praying that they'd go back to Hogwarts again, not really realizing that this was a series about each school year. And I really loved the boarding school element of it, so I was just like, really excited for the next one. So I read the next one, read Prisoner of Azkaban, and I was 11 years old when I first read that book, so it was like pitch perfect timing for me to get into that story and into that world. And around the time of Prisoner of Azkaban, or at least me reading it, talk had risen of a movie. And it was a big deal, if you lived in the UK at the time, year 2000, I guess, when they first announced it and did the cast reveal of, Harry, Ron, and Hermione. It was a big deal. Everyone was talking about it. It was in the papers, like, all the time. When I moved back to Wales in 2001, which was like 4 or 5 months before the movie came out, I lived with my nan and granddad for a while. And my granddad was a religious, paper reader. So you'd always have the papers in. There's always something about Harry Potter on the front page. It was like, it just felt like a real moment that year that Harry Potter was going to be not only on the big screen. This was fast becoming a British institution in terms of the books, but that it was going to be a British film with British cast and an American director, but everything else was really, not that I was aware of that too much as a kid or cared as much that it was going to be an all British movie, but I remember it being a point that people were kind of, championing at the time. So the film's about to come out and I'm just like, excitement is hitting fever pitch. And I was getting out the Stephen Fry audiobooks of the first two books from my local library, and they were like hot commodities. Like you had to get on a waiting list to get those audiobooks. But I remember listening to the Chamber of Secrets one to kind of, I don't know, just needed to absorb more Harry Potterness into my brain before the movie came out. So it was November 2001, some 20 years ago now, and my dad was going to take me to go see the film. And it was labeled a preview screening. To this day, I still don't know why. As far as I'm aware, it was opening weekend, but I remember my dad was booking it online, or was at least looking at the showings online, and it was like, preview screening. And I was like, "Are you sure that's the real like screening, Dad?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's fine." So he took me to the cinema, and the only real memory I have, or two memories actually, of sitting in the cinema and watching it for the first time was, first of all, being in the room and seeing Dudley running down the stairs, or running up and down the stairs and stomping on the stairs, and all the dust coming down and stuff, and Harry's kind of looking up, and I remember sat there in that cinema, and it wasn't really packed or anything. It was like a daytime showing, but I just remember thinking to myself, I can't believe this is actually happening. I can't believe I'm actually in the cinema and watching the Harry Potter movie. And I thought maybe because it was labeled preview screening online, maybe this was like they were only going to show 30 minutes of the movie, then they'd shut it off, and I was like almost terrified that was going to happen. And then the other memory I have is towards the end when when Hermione's like giving Harry the big speech at the end after the chess match, and she's like, "You're a great wizard, Harry," and all this, and there are more important things than cleverness and all this stuff, and I remember getting a bit choked up as a 13-year-old teenager, and so that was like, yeah. And my dad's like, "Oh, that was actually pretty good," and I remember coming home and telling my mum how great it was, and actually, oh, another thing I did in the lead up to the film, I read the book to my mum. I was so like, that I forced her to sit down in my nan's living room and listen to me reading the whole entire first book in increments, obviously. I can't believe she sat through that, but I just wanted to share it with people. I just love that world so much. And I came back from the film, and I was saying to my mum, like, they were swearing in it, mum. Like, I think he calls Neville a fat bastard or something, and I think Ron says bloody hell. So I was just like, oh, there was like swearing in it. And I don't know why I was so excited about that, but I loved the film, and couldn't wait for it to come out on DVD. And that was another nice memory for me, was getting that DVD like in late 2002. Double disc set, a nice fold out digipack. It felt like a big deal. There was deleted scenes, which are so exciting. There was like mini games and little bits and pieces. Like, I loved that DVD set so much. I remember looking on the spine, it said year one. And knowing at that point that J.K. Rowling's plan was to do 7 books, I thought, wow, I'll have a DVD one day that says year 7 on the spine. And sure enough, Deathly Hallows part 1 and 2, I think, did have the year 7. And I think that the kind of, the Ultimate Editions really leaned into the year 1, So, yeah. And this has an extended cut, I think, with deleted scenes. So we watched the 4K version to revisit it, and Connie loves these films, which is great for me. She always wants to watch them every year at Christmas, and I don't quite feel like doing that these days. So the last time we really rewatched everything was 3 years ago, 2018, and I did a series of it. In fact, that's another thing. I've covered all these films before. I did the Harry Potter Odyssey, which was my full review of the entire Wizards Collection box set. So talking about every film, talking about every single extra on every single disc. A very extensive series that took me years to complete. And then we did the Harry Potter Time Turner series, where we just kind of did casual movie vlogs of revisiting all 8 films in the December, I think, of 2018. So I'm not really going to review the film here, but revisiting it briefly was fun. Noticed some things that I hadn't noticed before. And the main thing, which Connie was laughing at, and I'd never really like clocked it before, is when Neville's on the broom, and he flies through the kids, and they all kind of like move out the way, so he flies through, and then soars up and does his business up in the air. But Madam Hooch, I think Zoe Wanamaker, the actress, she's there, and she kind of like puts her arms out like this, and then she realizes he's coming right for her, so she moves out the way, and he kind of barrels through, and all the kids disperse. But I'd never noticed that Madam Hooch just like does a rugby dive onto the floor. Like, she doesn't try and protect the kids at all. She just dives. Like, it's such a dramatic, like, it's like a footballer going for the save. And we just rewound it and played it over. And I was so funny to me that, like, this witch, who could probably just use her wand to kind of stop him or whatever, she just dramatically dives out of the way, just like launches herself onto the grass, like, fuck those kids, I'm getting out of the way. That was just hilarious to me. It's always nice to see Richard Harris again as Dumbledore, because when you revisit all the films, Michael Gambon seems to stick in your head as much, but Richard Harris was just like, I think, one of the maybe top 3 characters who were cast perfectly. and it still pains me. I'm telling you, on my deathbed, I'm gonna reach out and kind of tell my children I love them, and say that I had a good life and I appreciate everything that I had. And then just before my last gasp, I'll say, I'm still mad that Richard Harris didn't get to complete the Harry Potter. Honestly, it's painful to me. I just imagine some of those great moments, like the inside the cave in Half Blood Prince, and I just imagine Richard Harris playing that so much truer to the book than Michael Gambon did. I like Michael Gambon. He's good. He's a good Dumbledore, but he wasn't the best Dumbledore. Richard Harris is just amazing, and I'll always sing his praises. Revisiting it with the 4K version, obviously it's a downloaded copy, and I just felt like something different. And with it being the Sorcerer's Stone, I thought that'd be interesting, but it made no difference at all, really. And one day I'll obviously buy the 4K versions and give them a proper look, at the right time. But it's always a nice comfort blanket. It's just a warm hug going back to those films. And since we watched the first one, Connie said, well, we're watching the rest of them, right? And I was like, nah, I don't want to watch all of them again. But she's kind of been putting them on, and we've had them on over Christmas and stuff. And I love those films so much. But the first one is still special to me, and I still think it's a really magical film. It's obviously the most book-accurate movie, and I think there's pros and cons to that. And that's why I like that the films evolved as they went on, and Prisoner of Azkaban was a sharp kind of, how about we do something different here? And how about I make this film in my own way? And then that kind of splinters off a bit. But and it never quite gets as experimental as Prisoner of Azkaban in terms of the aesthetic, stylistics of the film, and adapting the book. But I really love the first two, specifically the first one, Philosopher's Stone, for how much it sticks true to the book. And a story I hadn't heard before until recently was that Chris Columbus, the director, went to go and pitch himself as the director, and he made I think he wrote hundreds of pages of stuff. He really went mental in terms of preparing himself to pitch himself as the director of this film. He really wanted to do it. He was so passionate about it, and he made sure to get his agent to arrange it that he was the last director that they saw, because he really wanted to leave a lasting impression. And it looked like it didn't look like it obviously worked, and also that he had planned to do all 7. But by the end of the second movie, he'd been working non-stop for years. There was no break, and he just couldn't do it to himself and his children, and I totally understand that. So, yeah, and he also has said in kind of the 20th anniversary news that's been going on, it's not even news, but obviously cast members have been asked about it and stuff, and Chris Columbus was interviewed, and he said that he would love to do The Cursed Child as a movie by bringing back, the main cast. That'd be interesting. I have thoughts on that, which I'll leave for another video. Maybe not even that, but, I have thoughts that would take too long to get into in this one. But, yeah, it's always nice to go back to this film. It was nice to see it for the 20th anniversary. It makes me feel very old. I'm not old, but as I have said to Connie for a number of years now, we're not old, but we're not young either. And that's certainly, I think, the case and the truth. But I do love the Philosopher's Stone. And there's not really much more to say, really. I just wanted to kind of mark it and commemorate it. It was a special time, as a fan of films, as a fan of Harry Potter, as someone living in the UK at the time when there was such a fervor around that series when the first movie came out, and it was such an institution from then on, and remains to be. And they're about to release in a couple of days a Return to Hogwarts special, which really fucking bugs me that I don't know if they dragged their feet in terms of making it and filming it, but they've clearly done it now. I literally just read an interview of someone who's seen it, because they're like, wow, J.K. Rowling has approximately 45 seconds worth of interviews because Warner Brothers is trying to distance themselves from the comments that she's made. So obviously it's a finished version is out there and done, and critics or whoever have seen, a cut of it. Release it on the 31st. Make it a New Year's Eve thing. Just release it in the 20th anniversary year. The fact that they're releasing it on January 1st, on the 21st anniversary year, I don't know. I get there's only a difference between November and January, but the kind of the analness of my brain makes me think to release it in 2021, which is what I'm doing with this video. I wanted to kind of release this in the year of 2021, which no one cares about but me. But there we go. So I'm doing this literally on it is now the 31st of December in the early hours. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else really. There isn't much else. I can't wait to show my kids these films, and I hope that they enjoy them. And the books first and foremost. And I'm actually itching to read the books again, or maybe do the audiobooks with Stephen Fry again. In fact, I haven't really listened to most of the Stephen Fry audiobooks. I've listened to chunks of them, but it was really only the first two books that I listened to all the way through, at the time of them coming out. So I remember when like Goblet of Fire came out, it was on CD and it was like a big wallet, and it was like about £150 or something ridiculous because it's such a long book. Maybe it wasn't that much, but it was expensive. So anyway, Harry Potter, love the movies, and it is a seasonal thing, and it does feel like a Christmas thing to me. I don't know. It's something about the colder months, holding yourself inside, get a blanket, watch some Harry Potter movies. It's always nice and warm and fuzzy and entertaining. It's still funny to say that one of the main things I love is like looking forward to Tom Felton. Because in my mind's eye, in the first couple of movies, he's such a venomous little prick. He's just like, so it's true what they say, Harry Potter has come to Hogwarts. But when you watch the movie, he is nowhere near as much venom. But in your mind's eye, it's like he spits every word, like he's such a little prick. But there's just really great performances in him. And obviously, and it's kind of fun. It's endearing to see how kind of some of the kids' performances are bad. Like you can definitely tell, maybe more so in the later movies, like maybe in Chamber and specifically Prisoner of Azkaban, you can see where Daniel Radcliffe is trying not to crack up when he's supposed to be serious. You can see the little lip twitch and stuff, and that was one thing I really enjoyed about this viewing, was just me and Connie being able to just watch the film and not have to worry about, staying laser focused, and we're just chatting and riffing as the movie goes on and stuff, and having fun and quoting stuff, or this is the bit with, and there's another bit we never noticed before actually, is when Ron and Harry are walking out in the grounds somewhere, and they're talking about Harry just getting a place on the Quidditch team, and Ron's like, so you're going to be the youngest seeker in, and I think Harry goes, a century, or maybe Ron says it, but it's like, you're going to be the youngest seeker in a century, and Harry's looking at him and he goes like that, and he just nods his head, and it's such a kind of like, yeah, like that, and we'd never noticed it, we just around it and just like, the youngest seeker in a century, like that. So those little, that's something you do with your favorite movies. I think when you've seen them so many times, you go, oh, I never noticed that like hyper specific point of detail that most people would never even think about. But when you're so familiar with everything else, all these little details that are kind of replaying in your mind just before they're about to happen on screen, whether it's like John Hurt when he's like looking through the wands and then he looks and there's like the kind of turn of his head is like imprinted in my brain, so you look forward to those moments, but you're also kind of almost on autopilot, and then you see like a stray bit in the background. It's like, oh, what's that? Like, you get intrigued by the little details that you might not have noticed, like that with Harry with a nod, and then Madam Hooch just diving out of frame, which is absolutely hilarious. So that is it. That's my reminiscence on the 20th anniversary of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I still don't know why that ever happened. And the reason I'm kind of so disgusted by that change is because it's so insignificant. As even with the movie's sake, where it's said out loud maybe 4 times, the rest of the time it's just referred to as the stone. Another thing we laughed about was when, okay, you kids, like at the beginning of the school year, it's like, no one go in the Forbidden Forest because, you will die a most horrific death. Okay, detention, off into the forest, and like Hagrid's like, right, you two go away, you split up, like it's just so ridiculous, but again, funny and enjoyable. And another thing that you can do when you love movies that much, or specific movies, that you can poke fun at them when there are things that maybe don't make the most sense or whatever. But yeah, so that's it. Thank you for watching. Mischief managed, I guess, and I'll see you in the next video, which will be me talking about The Fellowship of the Ring and that film's 20th anniversary. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you with that one.
He's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans and calling into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you, 'cause